Hello everybody, welcome to the Mild Rumpus, coming at you live from the House of Flimsy, my dilapidated one-bedroom apartment that is filled with books and noise. Today I'll be telling you about all of the books that I read during the month of June. Okay, welcome. Hello. We have a lot to discuss in this video today, but first let's show off our BookTube merch. This is the Spine Breaker t-shirt from the BookTube channel, Books Are Sick. While I do not endorse breaking the spines of books, I certainly do endorse his channel. Be sure to check it out if you haven't already. He's killing it. He kind of is owning the game right now, so be sure to watch Books Are Sick. Someone who did not kill the game this month is yours truly. Yes, I completely dropped the ball, although there were a lot of things going on in the background that I didn't share. So let's talk about that for a second. So at the tail end of May, I interviewed for a new job. And then going into June, I began the interview process. And then, we played the waiting game the entire month to find out whether or not I got the job. And it turns out I did. So, yay! What that meant for the channel was that reading was not the biggest priority, So as a result, I didn't read as much as I have in the previous months, and I also didn't make a lot of content. And while the interview process certainly had a lot to do with that, I was also just lazy. I think my biggest mistake was taking a break. Like, that's my tip. If you're gonna do a BookTube channel, make sure that you're consistently uploading and maybe don't take breaks, because what you'll find is you're like, God, it's really easy not making videos. That sounds terrible, but it is true. And while I didn't read a lot of books, I spent a lot of time watching television and laying on the sofa and, crossing fingers and toes. I watched 15 seasons of a single show. Like, that's embarrassing. But I was able to get through my TBR, so let's talk about the books. So I started the month off by reading the Berlin Stories by Christopher Isherwood. I had tickets to see Cabaret at the Kit Kat Club on Broadway to celebrate my birthday, and I wanted to read the book that the musical is based on. And now that I have done that, I can tell you that there is very little in the book that found its way onto the stage. The Berlin Stories consist of 2 books. The first book is called The Last of Mr. Norris. It's also known as Mr. Norris Changes Trains. And then the second book is Goodbye to Berlin. What little did make its way onto the stage, you can find in Goodbye to Berlin. The character of Sally Bowles appears in there, but it's only one chapter of the book, and then she pops up again at the end. The character of the innkeeper is in both books, and I guess you could say that the character of Mr. Norris is sort of represented early on in the musical. Isherwood definitely does an incredible job of capturing the atmosphere of the time, the decaying decadence of the cabaret and its cast of characters. This is a novel really about fascism, and it's set in that moment where Hitler is just about to gain power in Berlin, and then going into when he actually does begin to gain power. You can see parallels, scary parallels, between what is happening today politically and what happened then. There's one line in particular that really stood out to me, where one of the characters says, you got to watch out for those Nazi boys. Everyone doesn't take them seriously, and they laugh at them, but you're going to be laughing, and it's going to be too late when they actually do something. And then, knowing how it all turns out, yeah. So it's an incredible read. I enjoyed Goodbye to Berlin more so than Mr. Norris Changes Trains, but I believe that both books are definitely worth reading. I gave this 4 stars, and I will definitely be reading some more Isherwood in the future. So the next book is one that I've been wanting to read for a while now. It's called Brideshead Revisited. It's sort of a modern day classic. I had heard that it had like the talented Mr. Ripley and Saltburn vibes, So in my mind, I kind of concocted this story, and when the story that I read didn't completely align with that and the vibe that I thought the book was going to have, I felt like it kind of fell short, but I don't think it's a book problem. I think it's a me problem. The end of this book gets into faith and religion, and while the story didn't turn out the way that I thought it would, I definitely still enjoyed reading it, and I think it's worth a read. 3 stars. The next book I read was supposedly very influenced by Brideshead Revisited. I don't see that, I don't get that, but okay. It wound up being my favorite book of the month that I read, and that is The Talented Mr. Ripley by Patricia Highsmith. I was so happy to learn that there are 4 more books in this series because I want to know what happens to the character of Tom Ripley. He is a fascinating character, you know, a flawed, unreliable narrator. If you are a fan of Crime and Punishment, you will totally dig The Talented Mr. Ripley. I can't wait to find out what happens in the next book. The very first book that I read when I started this channel was Allie Smith's Winter. It was the first book of her seasonal quartet, and I remember sitting down and starting that book and thinking, I am too stupid to read this book. I had no idea what was going on. I was totally lost, very confused, and then eventually it clicked and it all made sense as to why I felt that way. And I'm glad I continued on with the series throughout the year. However, I gotta say, I kind of experienced the very same feeling when I read Summer. The story begins with a modern day family, and I do think that's the strongest point of this series, is that it feels very, very relevant and very current. You know, the family is going through Brexit, the presidential election, the pandemic, the George Floyd protests. Like, it seems like, you know, it was written yesterday. And these characters are experiencing that in real time. The beginning of the book is very clear cut. It's about, you know, the dynamic between a brother and a sister. The brother is kind of troubled, but also very brilliant. And then you get into part 2, and I felt completely lost like I did in the first book. It took me forever to figure out even what time period we were in. I couldn't decide whether we were in the past or if this was a dystopian moment. Finally, it clicked, and it made sense why I was feeling that way, and, you know, or at least I think that's what the point was. But characters from the previous book start appearing and connections are made, and then at the end of the book we return to the modern day family. This was definitely not my favorite book out of the whole series. I think that the books in the middle, Autumn and Spring, are definitely stronger, but the series itself is definitely worth exploring. Sometimes it can be challenging as a reader. She's an incredible writer, very, very talented. And, you know, the books, they kind of vary back and forth between 4 and 3 stars, but still, you know, I'll take that any day. I was able to sneak in one last book before the month ended, and that book was Open Throat. I have tickets to see a stage adaptation of this book next week at the amphitheater on Little Island, which I've never seen anything in that venue, which is really why I bought the tickets. I'm excited to see that. So I figured, well, you better read the book, right? And on paper, the synopsis is cray cray. It is about a queer mountain lion that lives under the Hollywood sign. He kind of guards people who are unhoused, but the fires of LA have displaced the mountain lion, and he's hungry. And it has a really, really great opening line, something along the lines of, I've never eaten a human, but today I might. Something like that. Unfortunately, I don't have a physical copy of that book, but it wound up being one of the 4-star reads of the month. It was really well written. It was also incredibly short. You could read the whole book in about 2 hours, but it's one of those stories that kind of sticks with you, and you think about it and you go, wow, this story has a lot of layers, and there's a lot of stuff to think about within this short little novella. So that does it for the month of June. I'm going to say right here and now that next week I will be posting my mid-year freak out video and my July TBR video. Hold me to it. Hold me to it. I gotta get back into the routine of making videos and uploading. So thank you for watching. If you're still here, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you read during the month of June. If you haven't already, please feed that algorithm, hit subscribe, hit the like, help get the videos out there, because I seriously just annihilated the algorithm with the month of June. I think I only posted 2 videos the entire month. So I promise to do better. Obviously, I will be starting a new job soon, so I will do my best. But I promise I will certainly put forth an effort. So until next time, happy reading. Take care. See ya.